Hey everybody, it's Allie with Cruise Blog. Today we're going to be talking about the best places for you to store your cruise card, phone, and cash during a shore excursion. Let's get into it. Regardless of whether you're exploring a new city in Europe, whale watching in Alaska, or sunbathing in the Bahamas, you need to keep your cruise card, phone, and cash secure when you're off of your cruise ship. One of the best parts about taking a cruise is the convenience. While on board, you don't have to carry personal identification or credit cards. Instead, you can just charge everything from souvenirs to spa treatments and alcoholic drinks directly to your cruise card. It also serves as your room key, so it's really the only thing that you need to keep on your person while you're on board. However, you must carry essentials when you disembark in ports of call, just as you would during a normal outing to a restaurant or supermarket at home. You might not always want to carry your everyday purse though, so here are a few ideas on how to keep everything safe while you're ashore. Up first is to bring a pickpocket-proof bag. Ideally, you'll want to bring a bag that securely zips and can be worn close to your body to deter pickpocketers. Crossbodies, fanny packs, and anti-theft backpacks are all good options. Also, you may want to invest in luggage locks to make sure your bag is even more difficult to break into. Most shore excursions visit popular tourist destinations, which are where thieves are more active. As such, you don't want to keep anything valuable in an open or easily accessible pocket. While you're ashore, staying aware of your surroundings, even if you think you're safe, is key to making sure you return with your cruise card, cash, and cell phone. You should be extra cautious while you're traveling on public transportation as well. Also, consider using a locker while you're ashore. Generally, private islands are some of the safest destinations on a cruise. However, that doesn't mean that you should let your guard down. For example, you don't want to leave your belongings in the open on a lounge chair while everybody in your party wades in the Caribbean or in the Bahama waters. If you don't have someone willing to stay close to keep an eye on your stuff, consider stashing everything in a locker. Some destinations like Royal Caribbean's Perfect Day at Coco Cay have a limited number of complimentary lockers available for guests to use. Other private islands like Half Moon Cay charge a small fee for locker access. In addition, renting a locker at Carnival's private island in the Bahamas will cost you about $10. Keep in mind that lockers might not be conveniently located to where you're spending the day. However, sometimes walking a little further is worth the peace of mind knowing that your valuables are safe and leaving you to splash and swim in the water as long as you'd like. Also, consider waterproofing your items. Sometimes lockers aren't available, or you may not want to be separated from your items all day. If that's the case, you will want to waterproof your cruise card, cash, and cell phone. Many cruisers find that stashing these important items in a Ziploc bag is enough. However, you can also purchase a waterproof phone pouch. The convenient strap makes it easy to drape over your neck or wrist while swimming rather than gripping your phone. Another advantage of a waterproof pouch is that you can snap some really cool underwater pictures while you're in the water. Many are touchscreen friendly, so you can use your phone without taking it out of the case. In addition, consider packing only the essentials. Finally, limit what you can bring ashore. Although items like your cruise card, cash, and phone are important, you may also need sunscreen, bug spray, band-aids, or essential medication like an inhaler or an EpiPen. There is no reason to bring everything from your cruise cabin though. Overpacking increases the likelihood of losing something or having an item stolen while ashore. For example, you don't need to bring every credit card on your excursion. If your wallet happens to get taken, you'll want to have a backup available on board in your stateroom. It's also smart to leave your passport in the cabin safe unless you're required to take it ashore. More often than not, a driver's license is sufficient for identification purposes. If you're worried, you can also keep a photocopy of your passport in your bag while you are ashore. If you're curious about how much cash to bring, we combed through a lot of comments online, especially on Reddit, to determine what's a normal amount of cash for cruisers to bring. One person posted on the Carnival Cruise Fans thread and wanted to know how much money they should bring for their Carnival Jubilee cruise for two. Many people responded, and of course, there was a wide range of how much cash people bring on board, but here are some of the more common responses for you to consider. One of the most confusing parts about planning a cruise is figuring out how much cash you should bring because your cruise fare and your add-ons, including drink packages, shore excursions, and specialty restaurants, are often prepaid. You don't need to worry about carrying a wad of cash in your pocket to pay for incidentals on board. Still, there are instances where you will want to have cash on hand. For example, you'll want to tip your shore excursion guides, maybe, or you might want to try your luck in the casino. Generally speaking, there isn't a right amount of cash to bring with you on a cruise. The answer varies based on your travel habits, your spending preferences, the length of the cruise, and where you're heading. Many cruisers advise bringing at least $100 per day in cash. One person on Reddit said, I usually take $100 per port day plus whatever I know we'll spend on a definite excursion. Another said, keep in mind that taxis can be expensive if you take it both ways, so I like to have at least $100 for each port in cash. One cruiser also said, if you know you spend a lot, especially on port days, then I would say bring about $700 for a 7-day cruise. Even if you know there's a chance you won't spend that much per day, it is definitely better to have more than you'd actually need. Of course, this also depends on what you've already prepaid for and what you plan to splurge on once you're on the ship. For example, if you've prepaid for your specialty restaurants, your drink packages, shore excursions, and Wi-Fi, there's likely very little that you'll need to spend extra on. One person on Reddit also said, we always try to book all upcharge items before we get on the cruise, that way we can pay it off before going. If you don't pre-purchase your add-ons, you may want more than $100 per day. For example, Carnival's drink package is over $80 per person per day, and if you buy it on board, that will leave you with a smaller cash buffer for things like tips, taxis, and shopping. In addition, you should consider if you plan to gamble or not on board. Some cruisers like to bring extra cash knowing they might lose a little bit in the casino. One of our riders, Elizabeth, says that she loves to bring a little gambling money for every cruise. She says sometimes she gives herself $50, whereas other times she's okay betting more. Overall, you can charge money to your onboard account for the slot machines, but many lines require that you have cash for the table games. Because of that, it's a good idea to bring enough cash to cover your bets. The amount of cash you need is also determined by whether you're settling your onboard account in cash or with a credit card. If you are linking your credit card to your onboard spending account, you may not need as much cash as if you plan to settle your final bill with cash. All your charges on the ship, ranging from last-minute specialty reservations to alcoholic beverages, spa treatments, and shopping, are all billed to your onboard account. As such, cash isn't necessary for those purchases, and many cruisers choose to bring cash primarily for port days, as your cruise card will not work ashore unless you're at a private destination from the cruise line. While most destinations readily accept credit cards and debit cards, others may not, especially smaller vendors and ports. Having cash on hand is important for things like taxi rides, tipping local tour guides, buying handmade souvenirs, and grabbing street food. Still, you may want extra cash for the ship, so you shouldn't only bring cash for ports. Perhaps you want to tip your favorite bartender or leave cash as a token of your appreciation for your cabin steward. Here are a few people whom you may want to tip during your sailing. This includes the porters, bartenders, dining room servers, stateroom attendants, and specialty dining servers. Whatever you think you need, it is best to double that to be safe. At the end of the day, there isn't a right or wrong answer as to how much money you need to bring on your cruise. Everyone's spending habits, after all, are different. All right, everybody, that is all we have for today. Thanks for tuning into Cruise Blog, and be sure and like and subscribe so that you can be notified every time we have a new video. Until next time, this has been Allie, and happy cruising.